Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to RaceFace. My name is Rod Wortham.
And I'm Katie Bacino.
And we're going to be your host today. So we're glad that you're with us. In our second segment today, we're going to be going down to Mooresville, North Carolina. We're going to be talking to young driver Tyler Dayton, and Mr. Tom's going to be there with our Race Chaser update. That's a brand new segment. Actually, it's our second week of that segment, Katie, into the show. So it's a great deal. Tom Baker is kind of like the god when it comes to young race car drivers. So we're really excited to have him be a part of our show. But before we do that, what did our viewers ask us to talk about this week, Katie?
Okay, so last week when the show got done, I went over to Facebook and I was checking out, like all the feedback and everything everyone was saying. And one of our viewers asked us, rather than driving, like just the driving success, what else can they do to help pave their path to success?
Pave their path to success. That's
hard to say, I know.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's a tongue twister.
Well, so the question was, what else can I do besides my driving skills to actually help me accelerate, if you would, to get to the top level?
It's more than just some driving skills. Unfortunately, you need a little more than just your skill, although that is a huge aspect.
Well, driving skill is definitely there. Everybody's got to be able to compete, and everybody's got to be able to run up front. But one of the big things is branding. Branding, sponsorship dollars, but branding is what we're going to talk about first. And branding really starts at a young age. So if you're a young driver watching us today and you're down at the ages of 5, 6, 7, and you think that you're too young to start your branding, well, guess what? You're not. Okay? Because again, the faster that you can create your brand, the more attention that you can start to call to yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to think of it as a young driver. Say you're brand new, you've never even put your race car on a track before. But if you've spent the last year before that, before you put your car on a track, branding yourself, then when you get on that track, everyone's going to know who you are rather than just starting off and never having got your name out there. You want people to know who you are when you put your car on the track and you start racing.
We can go back to, and I love to use the example of Jeff Gordon. They used to have it. Tom, we're probably the only two that can actually relate to this. But they used to have what they call Thursday Night Thunder. And that was a sprint car series. It ran every Thursday night on ESPN. And Jeff Gordon literally made his career at that young age. I mean, he dominated those races, but he got so much airtime, so much press.
Right.
And here's the important thing about branding. And I'm talking to the young drivers a little bit, but parents out there, I'm also talking to you, is that unfortunately motorsports is different than any other sport that's out there. And the reason that I'm saying that is if you're the best baseball pitcher, or you're the best quarterback, or you're a high school basketball player and you're 7'1" and got a 46-inch vertical jump, guess what? People are going to seek you out.
Yeah, they're going to know who you are.
And they're going to do everything that they can do to make sure that you get to their college and then you get to their professional team. But with race car drivers, it's a little bit different because not only the best drivers always make it. There's a lot of great drivers that are sitting at home on the weekends that are saying, hey, I know that I've got enough talent to be out there competing with them, but I really never got the opportunity to do that. And part of the reason is they didn't brand themselves. So don't get so caught up worrying just about equipment and worrying just about your success on the track, but start to make sure that you're branding yourself, that you're creating something that a sponsor would want to be involved with. Because here's the bottom line, parents. You're only going to be able to take your child so far into racing.
Right, and then you're going to need some help. So you need to be getting a sponsorship and getting your name out there because you want those people to help you. You want your sponsors to want to come to you and help you get further in your career.
So it's kind of like, starting off in go-karts and legend cars, parents, you may be able to fund that. But once you start getting up into, the K&N series, even super late models now are very, very expensive to be able to run in that series. But when you get to the K&N series, and then you go from K&N up to ARCA, and ARCA up to the trucks or the Xfinity series.
More expensive.
Man, unless you've got millions to back your child, you're going to need some help.
Yes.
And we can tell you that branding your child is something that you should start, tomorrow. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can do that through social media.
Yes.
And I know Katie and I were talking right before the show that social media can be good and social media can be bad.
It can also be bad. These young kids don't realize when they're posting things on the internet that it stays on the internet. So you have to be careful with what you're posting. You don't want to say anything bad about someone because it could come back to hurt you in the long run, even if it's 5-10 years from now. You don't want to be known as the kid who said something bad about another driver or even a person. It doesn't have to be a driver, but that is not what you want to be known for. So you really have to be careful, but it can also really, really help you. Social media can be so powerful.
Yeah, and that's what Katie brought up is very, very important. Keep one thing in mind. If a sponsor's coming to look at you right now, one of the very first things they're going to do is they're going to go look at your digital footprint. And
Facebook,
something that you may
Instagram.
not have thought would hurt you, whether it's a picture or something that you said, if it's out there, it literally could cost you a deal. So be extremely careful. Again, you're starting to groom yourself to move up to the next levels,
Right.
and you just have to make sure that you're keeping your digital footprint clean and that, again, you're starting to build that brand. So with that, we're ready to make a big announcement tonight, and that is that RaceFace is getting into what we call RaceFace brand development. And I think that James is going to be able to show us, just kind of take you to the website. It's RaceFace brand development. And our goal is to start working with the young drivers that are out there right now to help them start to build their brand. And then, of course, Tom's going to be involved as we bring Tom on in a few minutes. And Tom's going to be able to talk about how he's going to be able to work with the drivers from a coaching standpoint, to be able to teach them, you know, kind of how to walk, how to talk, and how to be able to conduct themselves in a professional manner, which is all a part of the branding. So you go from branding, and then that moves you into sponsorship. And I think we had a
Hand
couple of
in hand.
questions that some people ask us about the sponsorship side of things.
Yeah, people just want to know how you can get sponsorships. How do you approach a new sponsor? I mean, do you just walk right up to them and say, hey, I want your name on my car? Because that doesn't seem like the best way to approach a sponsor.
Well, it's really not. I think that you've got to have a plan when you go out there. You've got to have a plan that says, here's what I want to be able to provide for that sponsor. What I always tell young drivers, old drivers, I don't care, even if it's at the cup level, you know, make sure that your sponsor gets their bang for the buck before you ever get to the track. And you do that by setting up that, hey, you know what, yes, I am going to put you on my race car. Yes, you're going to be on my driver's uniforms, and we might have some T-shirts made up, and I've got some hero cards or autograph cards that you're going to be able to sign that's got my sponsor on there. But there's a lot more to it than just that. So it's a way for you to be able to brand with your sponsor even on social media.
Again, branding and sponsorship are hand in hand. Your sponsorship is going to want to see your brand. You go to them.
You know, and as far as sponsorship is stop and think about it a little bit. You know, pick out what type of sponsor you think is a good fit for you, because that's going to be the easiest one for you to get involved with. And let's just say that, you know, let's say that you were going to go out and talk to a local car dealership. You know, a lot of people seem to navigate them because car dealerships have very large budgets. But one of the things that I would tell him is just not go out and talk about, like you said, Katie, you know, I'm going to put your logo on my car, but I'm going to show you how to go out and be able to, like, have a couple of autograph sessions, bring my cars down, have a show car appearance, and a lot of different things that you can do to be able to interact with that sponsor. So I'll tell you what, we're about to end up our first segment here. We're going to go out to a break, and when we come back, we're going to have Tom Baker from down in Mooresville, North Carolina, join us with our new Race Chaser RaceFace set. So we'll be right back.
The Edge, Fridays at noon. If you're an entrepreneur looking for cutting-edge information, tips, tricks, secrets, expert interviews, it's all here at The Edge. Anything you need to build your business, this is the show to listen to. It's The Edge. Check us out Fridays at noon.
Ever need a doctor after hours? Well, searching won't help. But what do? You could go to the urgent care or ER, but if only there was a better way. Introducing the MNO Plus card. No waiting rooms, no copay, no consultation fee, giving you 24/7 access to a doctor by phone or online. It's easy to get started with affordable plans starting at $15 a month for a family of 5. For more information, visit mnoplus.com today.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And over the last few minutes, we've been talking about branding. We've been talking about sponsorship. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go down to our studios in Mooresville, North Carolina, and we're going to be joined by Mr. Tom Baker. And I believe young Tyler Dayton is sitting there with him. And this is what we call our Race Chaser Racer Recap. Hey, Tom.
How you doing, guys?
We're doing great, man. You guys look great there.
Love the new set.
We love the new set as well. We definitely are excited about what we got going here with this show, and we're looking forward to just continuing to improve it from week to week.
Did Jacob build that?
Well, he'll take credit for it anyway.
What a handyman he is.
Good deal.
He is a handyman.
So, Tom, as you know, we've been talking a little bit about branding, a little bit about sponsorship. I know this is right up your alley, especially when it comes to young race car drivers. So, you know, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree with a lot of what you were saying. I think one of the biggest reasons that drivers fail before they get to the regional level is because they don't put enough effort and they don't do the right things when it comes to marketing at the lower levels. I had a father ask me a while back, he was getting his kid into quarter midget racing, at what point do you start to market your driver? I said the day he runs his first race. And, you know, really at that age, if you're going to be 5 or 6 years old or whatever, I think it's just fine to have a website. You don't need to go out and do all of the other things necessarily right away unless you're going to try to look for sponsorship. But that website becomes basically the online history for that driver. So why not build the website and do it right when you first start and start just cataloging how he's doing each race and whatever and have all that information there so that you don't have to go back later and try and recreate it. You know, marketing, this is a marketing-driven sport, and it's very unique in that sense compared to, you know, most of the stick and ball sports. And I think it's really important for a driver at a young age to realize if he's going to be successful in the sport, he's not a racer first. He's a marketing company who uses motorsports to promote products. And the sooner the driver can become comfortable with everything that he or she needs to do in that role, I think the more they become marketable enough to attract that sponsorship.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I can remember back it's been 12, 15 years, somewhere around in that category, that I was actually sitting at one of the NASCAR summit meetings. And I had Mike Helton get up in front of us and say, look, let me make sure that everybody understands we are in the entertainment business.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And racing is our vehicle. And so that very well ties back to a young driver, because again, if you can actually make a connection at a young age and get a sponsor that wants to move up the ladder with you, man, that's like hitting the golden grail, if you would, because, you know, one thing that I see even from the sponsorship side, I think that a lot of times that drivers make a mistake, you know, maybe not branding themselves early enough or getting a sponsor early enough. But I also see the same thing happen from sponsors. You know, sponsors get involved and, you know, they're writing the check, but they don't really realize what they need to do to be interactive with the sport to get their bang for their buck.
Well, that's exactly right. And you're right. It does work both ways. And it has to be the biggest thing is you can't just kind of go at it willy-nilly. There's got to be a strategy. And that's one of the things that I've always tried to work on with my clients is to sit down and figure out, okay, where are we now? Where do you want to be? Now let's backfill the steps that we need to take in between to give yourself the best shot to get to the level you want to be at. And it doesn't matter if it's NASCAR or World of Outlaws or, SCCA or IMSA or whatever it is. The process is the same. There's a gap between where you're standing now and where you want to be in a year or 2 years or 5 years. And so we have to be able to figure out what steps do we need to take in order to get you there. And there are a lot of things in between those two levels, from, personal improvement, whether we need to help you to learn to speak better, help you to learn to be better on camera, better on radio, whatever the case. All of those things are a part of that. Teaching you how to handle a board meeting if you're going to go in and meet with a board of directors or, a group of marketing people about a sponsorship. All of that's part of what we teach and what we're going to be teaching and working with our drivers on with RaceFace brand development. And it's all crucial because this is a business. It's not a hobby. And there are a lot of drivers that I look at and a lot of race teams that run themselves like a family hobby. And sponsors are not going to sign on to that. You have to have the tools and all of the, the marketing elements in place and be able to have an audience that you're talking to so that when you go approach that potential sponsor, you can show them what you're doing and say, look, we want you to be a part of this, and we have all this to use to promote what your business is trying to sell or trying to do for people.
That is exactly correct. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're just about to wrap down our second segment. When we come back, we're going to be with young driver Tyler Dayton. We're going to talk about some really cool things. I think we're actually going to get to see him take us through some final laps of a very exciting race that he was a part of last week. So keep tuning in. We'll be back in just a moment.
81% of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
The Edge, Fridays at noon. If you're an entrepreneur looking for cutting-edge information, tips, tricks, secrets, expert interviews, it's all here at The Edge. Anything you need to build your business, this is the show to listen to. It's The Edge. Check us out Fridays at noon.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've been having some great conversations here. We've been talking about sponsorship. We've been talking about branding. We've been talking with Tom Baker. Now we got Tyler Dayton on with us right now. And Tom, tell us a little bit about Tyler. And then Tyler, man, just start sharing with the audience and, tell us some things about how you got started, where you're headed to. And then we got maybe some questions to ask you here towards the end.
Well, I've known Tyler for a long while, just not really well. I've watched Tyler race since he was in Bandoleros several years ago, and saw him race a super late model a couple of times, and now he's running in the Super Truck Series at Hickory Motor Speedway, which is actually the second oldest active NASCAR weekly racing series track in the country, and one of the most renowned. He's already been a track champion once, looking for his second title this season. And so I'll let Tyler kind of give you a little bit of background, tell us kind of how you started, and you have an interesting story about how you got started racing, so tell us that, just kind of work us up through to now.
Well, we moved to North Carolina in 2006, and we didn't have an idea that I was going to race. It was a family thing back down in Florida when my dad did it and my uncle did it. But I wasn't really into the racing scene yet. I was young. But when we came down to Florida, we got an invite from a friend to go watch the quarter midgets run at NCQ May Speedway, and I watched my first race, and I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't very good at anything else, so I wanted to try this racing thing out, and we went out and bought a cart, and I won my first 4 races in a row in the junior novice class, and we moved up through the ranks in the quarter midgets, and then we decided that the next step would be the Bando, because that's where we saw a lot of the other racers going, was to the Bandolero series. So we ran the Bando. I wasn't very good starting out in the Bando. It was a big step coming from a quarter midget to a Bando. I went up through the ranks pretty quick. I went from a beginner bandit to a bandit in around, I think, 7 months. And then once I was old enough, I went straight to Outlaws, and that's when I started having more success. As I got older, I got better and more mature, and when I was racing, I started taking it more serious, and I decided that I wanted to try and make a career out of it. So we ran the Bando for about 4 years, ran the Summer Shootout Series, had success in that, ran Concord, Motorsports Park Weekly. I think I ran 130 races one year in the Bando. It was rough, but we got all the seat time I needed, and then we went straight from the Bando to a super late model, because the Pass developed a series called the Pass Pro Series, and it was a kind of a chance for us to have a smaller carburetor and kind of have us learn how to run the supers, and you could run it at 12. So we decided that would be a good step to learn how to run a bigger car early, than to stay down and maybe run in the legend car, and thought the late model would be the best step.
That was a great plan until you got to the racetrack with it.
Yeah, it was just me, my mom. It was just me, my mom, and me, and my dad. That was it. We had a guy come spot for us every once in a while, but compared to everybody else that would show up to the track, you had haulers with 7 crew guys working on the car, a backup car. We just had one car, and my dad working on it. That was pretty much it, and I didn't know enough about it at the time to work on it or help. So, it was hard. We didn't have much success. I qualified 3rd at Concord on the big track. 10th off of the Coulter Motorsports cars, but we couldn't compete with them during the race. They just pulled away, and there was not much we could do.
Well, I think the part I was trying to get you to get to was when you showed up with the pro car, you were the only pro car there.
Yeah,
it was the only car in the class.
The first race we did, it was originally called the CCS Sportsman Series, and Ollie Spain ran it, and it was at Orange County, and we were supposed to have a field of maybe 7 or 8 cars. Well, we show up, and there's nobody there. I was the only car that showed up that race.
Whoops.
So instead of, the local guys saw me practice, and they said that I could run with them, but they were in stocks. So we didn't want to put me in a super out there with the stock class and run with those guys, because I would have run them over. And I didn't know enough about the car yet. I didn't want to, mess with their points or anything. So they gave me a 15-lap exhibition. I just ran out there and ran 15 laps. Got to show off the car a little bit, got to run, and, got a trophy. I won. And technically speaking, I think I won the championship for that series.
Yeah.
Unofficially. Yeah. But, and then Pass
laughed yourself 3 times.
Yeah, and then Pass decided to buy the series out, and they called it the Pro Series, and they definitely had a lot more cars for that. And it worked out, but we decided that, it got to the point where it was way too expensive and we couldn't compete. People started showing up, that had unlimited budget compared to us that we were struggling just to make it every week. And we just decided that it was time to sell it and try to find something more local to run. And that's where the truck came, I ran the first year in the truck. Well, I ran about 3 races in the truck, and then we broke a right front spindle in practice and put it in the wall, and that was the end of that season because we didn't have enough to fix the truck and run the rest of the season. So we came back the next year, and then it was definitely a good year. We started out the year with getting DQ'd in qualifying because the truck was too light because my dad forgot to put the fuel in it.
Whoops.
Yeah, and then I drove up from 9th to 2nd in that race, and it really showed that I could actually drive out there when everything's more, close in speed compared to the past deal.
Well, I understand you had a pretty exciting race last week. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to take a few laps here with Tyler. So, James, if you could cue up that little video. Tyler, walk us through these last few laps.
Him, and then the caution came out, so it ruined the whole entire chance of me. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to catch him back, but his truck went away so fast that on that next restart I was able to get to him, and he got really tight, and my truck pretty much stayed the same throughout the race. Everybody else's trucks were getting worse. Mine just kind of stayed the same. So I was able to catch back up to him, and we went for the move on him. It took a few laps for me to set him up and then take the spot away, and then I don't know what happened to the first place truck. Earlier in the race he was running away with it. He had a pretty steady lead, and then I don't know, either his truck just went away that bad, or because in 3 laps, I catch him pretty hard. I was thinking here that I wasn't going to be able to catch him. I thought I was just going to take my 2nd place and call it a day and just try to make sure I keep the truck in one piece. And once I was just running my pace, I was running as hard as I could. I realized that I was catching him pretty quick. So, I ended up running out of time. I mean, the lap car helps, right there. But
it looks looks like you really needed about 1 or 2 more laps, and you might have had him set up too. So let me ask you something, because we're getting close to running out of time here. How much did tire management come into place in this race here?
Not much. We run used tires off the late model stocks every week, so our series is kind of dependent on what set of tires you get out of the draw. You could get a bad set, or you can get the miracle set. The first race of the season I had the miracle set. We ended up winning that race by over 15 car lengths, and the difference was the tires. And then this week everybody's tires were pretty much the same, so I had to work for it this time, and we were close, but just needed 1 more lap.
Well, it looked like an exciting race. Tyler, Tom, thank you guys for joining us this week. We're going to be coming back to you guys next week. Again, remember, if you're watching this on demand, we're on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, mnotv.com. We're excited that you joined us. Tom, you have any closing words for the audience?
I just wanted to say thanks for coming back up to us here in Charlotte, and look forward to being back next week with you on the show.
Well, I'll see all of you next week. Remember to do one thing for us. Go out, support your local track, okay? That's where the grassroots is at. That's where racing fans are born from. We need to support our local tracks. So go out this weekend, visit your local track, and come and see us back here next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. mnotv.com. Everybody have a great week.